How was I able to go from selling shoes and shoe trees and shoe horns at the mall into a lucrative field like tech sales? And more importantly, what can you learn from this experience to increase the likelihood of breaking into this field yourself? Don't worry guys, we're going to address all those questions right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Untitled Chapter here, aka the best dressed man in tech sales. And in today's video, we are going to break down the story. That's right, the story of exactly how I was able to transition from working at the shoe store at the mall to a job in tech sales. And some time has passed, obviously, since I've done this, about 9 years, but I still think there's value in sharing the story, and hopefully you'll walk away from this video with some tactical and actionable steps that you can actually start putting into practice today to, again, increase the likelihood of breaking into this field. So without further ado, let's get into the story. All right, guys, so we're gonna start the story in the year 2012 because that was a pivotal year in my life. And in this year, unfortunately, my father passed away from a random heart attack, and it really devastated my family's financial stability. And just to set the picture, you know, my parents were immigrants. We were not rich at all. My dad was manager of 7-Eleven. My mom makes cakes for a living. And together, I think they probably made like $70,000, $80,000, right? So we had enough, but we were not rich by any means. We were definitely middle class, kind of standard, I would say. So anyways, while this year had progressed, 2012, I started doing a new thing at the shoe store. And this is something that if you are in a retail job today, if you are a bartender today, if you are in any kind of service field, especially in person, where you get to talk to people in person, this is a critical thing that you must start doing, okay? If you want to transition into something else, or specifically tech sales, but you need to start asking your customers more things about what they do, okay? So the small habit that I started doing in 2012 was I started asking my customers, hey, what do you do, right? And I needed to ask them, what do you do? Because I needed to get creative ideas and options for what I could do once I graduated college, right? I had about 2 years left and I said, I need to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do when I graduate. So let me start asking people, right? And I got lucky because at Cole Haan, we sold nice shoes, okay? The cheapest shoes were like, okay, we had some in the clearance rack for like 50 bucks, but Cole Haan was kind of a mid-luxury brand. So we had doctors coming in there, lawyers, like really successful people, and then we had all sorts of people really, but there was a higher chance of me meeting successful professionals because we sold that kind of shoe that they would wear to work or whatnot, right? So anyways, I started asking my customers more about what they did for work. And one day, this led me to meet a guy who was doing tech sales. And I remember the story like it was yesterday. He came in and he was looking at the most expensive bag that we had at the store. So naturally I approached him, we start talking, and I figured out in the conversation that he was a marketing major. He went to my college and he was from the city I was living in, Fort Myers, Florida at the time. And I asked him naturally, I said, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, I'm a marketing major, I go there to school. What did you do after you graduated, if you don't mind me asking? And he said, oh, it would take a long time to explain, but you know, here's my card. And I looked at his card and I saw that he was an account executive for a company called Gartner. And I had heard of this company, but I had no idea what they did, right? So we end the conversation, he ends up getting the bag, you know, cool customer, and I've got his info now, okay? So this is phase one of the story. I'm gonna pause here, but the lesson I want you guys to get out of this is that if you are in a customer service type role, if you work at the mall, if you are a bartender, if you're a barber, if you're whatever, but if you work with people that you sell to or that you work with in any capacity, start asking them what they do for work. And you want to do this because that's going to educate you and give you options that you can then start considering. And you never know what one conversation can produce in terms of an intro, or it might be the spark in your head that then tells you, hey, maybe I should look into that, or maybe I should look into this. So that's lesson one from the story, guys. Start asking people what they do. All right, guys, phase two of the story. So after I got John's card, I looked at the company on LinkedIn, okay? And I figured out a little bit about what they did, but I still had no clue because when I went to their website, I was like, it said research and advisory firm. And I was like, what the heck is research and advisory firm mean? Like, what is that? So naturally, I did the next best thing, and I found a recruiter on LinkedIn. And I said, hey, I recently met so-and-so at Cole Haan. Wanted to see if I can hop on the phone with you and just learn a little bit more about what the company does and about this internship opportunity. Because that's another thing that John had mentioned to me in the store, was that there was an internship that this company offered, and he even said I might be a good fit. So of course I was excited about that. So that's step 2, guys. What I did is I went on LinkedIn, looked at the company, went on the company's website, and then I reached out to a recruiter on LinkedIn just to ask for more info. I didn't apply for a job. I didn't apply for the internship. I said, hey, can I get on the phone to talk to you about the company and what you do? That's it. And I think this was effective because I wasn't asking for a lot, right? I was asking for 15 minutes, whatever. And I showed desire to learn. And I think that is something that if you are an entry-level role for anything, whether it's tech sales or not, people want to see an eagerness to learn, right? And so if you can just tap someone on the shoulder, whether it's digitally or in person, say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about what this company does. I see you work there. Would you mind just giving me 10 minutes to talk about what it is you guys do? I think that's going to be something that creates a favorable first impression because, again, you're demonstrating that curiosity, desire to learn, and desire to grow. So that's the second key thing I did, guys. After I got John's card, I looked into the company, contacted someone on LinkedIn, and what that produced was a conversation with a woman named Liz, who then told me about an open house event that they had in the area where I could actually meet the person who was recruiting for the internship. So it was like all of a sudden this path was getting created for me and I didn't even try really, I was just searching for information. So that's the second phase of the journey, guys, and those are the key things that I did along the way. All right, third step of the journey, guys. I go to the open house event. I was almost late because I couldn't navigate the parking lot. It was nuts, and the building itself was super complex. I needed a badge to get in, all sorts of stuff, right? So I finally get in the door, and I sit down, and there's this big boss guy talking to a crowd of people. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't even belong here. And anyways, after the person spoke about the company and talked about their growth in the area and wanting to hire X amount of positions, they opened it up for networking, drinks, food, snacks, all sorts of stuff, right? So naturally, I'm trying to find this woman that I spoke with on LinkedIn. And everybody had a name tag, so I was searching around. I was just scanning the room. I said, where is she? Where is Liz? And all of a sudden, I go ahead and I go to get a drink. And as I do, I reach into this kind of container they had or cooler to grab a drink, and somebody else was reaching in at the same time. And so I backed up and I let them go, and I read their name tag, and it said Vice President of Customer Success or something like that. And all of a sudden, him and I just started chatting, and I didn't even really know that he was one of the big bosses of this company. And so anyways, I get a tap on the shoulder about 2 minutes later, and I turn around and I see the name tag that said Liz. And I was like, oh my God, Liz, how'd you know this was me? And she's like, I just took a guess, whatever. And so we started speaking, and then she introduced me to this woman who was recruiting for the internship. And thankfully I had my resume with me. I was prepared to do so. I had several copies of it. And I gave her a copy of my resume, but more importantly, we got to chat for about 15 minutes. And she talked about the structure of the internship, a little bit more about the company, about herself, and that was the key, guys. I got to speak one-on-one with the person who was hiring, and we got to have that nice exchange because what I was able to do there was create a memorable first impression and show my desire to learn about the company and show my preparedness by having my resume, having a folder, being dressed nicely. All these things contributed to a favorable first impression, which I think helped me get the internship later on. But let's pause there. That was phase 3. So to recap that part of the story, what I did was I followed up with Liz. I ended up going to the open house. I showed up well-dressed. I showed up prepared. I brought copies of my resume, and I was ready to actively seek out the person who was recruiting for the internship. All right, guys, so the next phase of the story, after I had attended the open house, what I needed to do then was formally apply for the role and actually do the interview, okay? So just because I had met people in person didn't mean I get to cut the line and automatically get a job. No, it wasn't that easy. I still had to interview formally and beat out all the other applicants that were coming from really big schools like Ohio State University and others across the country. So here's what I did to prepare. Number 1, step 1, what I did was I went to my current job at Cole Haan and I asked everyone in the store, hey, do you have friends? Do you have family? Do you have anybody that knows anything about this company that can help me research and prepare? And thankfully, one of the people said, yes, actually, my partner works there. And I was like, are you serious? Like, oh my God, can I talk to them? What, And they actually ended up giving me a binder with all of their notes that their partner used to interview and work at Gartner. So that was extremely helpful. I absorbed all those notes. I started studying. And then I just went to LinkedIn. I went on the website and I started just like really just diving into this company, into every single thing possible, right? The research they produced, the clients that they had, case studies, all sorts of stuff on their website, just really diving headfirst in there. And the next thing that I did was I talked to my mentor, okay? So I was lucky enough to have a mentor named Ron, who was an older individual that I would meet with to talk about my career, my life, things, my father's death. He would counsel me, all sorts of stuff. And I asked him, what should I do to prepare for this? And he gave me some counsel, all of that. So really, guys, this step of the story involves using your resources, right? I worked at the mall. I was selling freaking shoes. But guess what? You're never that far away from the people and resources that you need to be successful. So the key thing here is ask for help, okay? You can be the smartest person, you can be the most well-rounded individual, but if you don't ask for help, nobody's gonna just jump out of the woods and try to help you achieve the outcomes that you want. You have to verbalize the things you need and ask for help. And when you ask, I know from personal experience, you shall receive. So that's the key lesson there, guys. Ask for help. You will find resources. You just have to verbalize it and make it known to those around you. All right, guys, so the next step involved the actual execution of the interview, which I was able to do thanks to my preparation. And there's not really much to say there except for prepare, and make sure that you're able to execute and keep your emotions in check, right? Because I was definitely nervous before the interview, but I had to just tell myself, calm down. You've done the necessary preparation to succeed here, so let's just go ahead and get it, right? And after that, 3 weeks later, I believe, I got a call and an email that said I was formally accepted into the internship. And so now I knew, okay, I did the hard work to get here, but I'm still not there yet. This is just an internship, right? And it's only 3 months long. I have 3 months now to show them that I'm a good person for this job. I can do this and I can succeed. So the next phase of the journey was just crushing it at the internship. And essentially for the internship, I played the role as a SDR, BDR. All we were doing was cold calling, emailing, and we were measured on how many meetings could we get in 3 months. And this might sound like a lot, but trust me, so many people did better than me. I was able to generate 47 meetings in 3 months, and that was enough to get a full-time offer that landed me an account executive job with a $42,000 salary at the time. Keep in mind, this was 2015 or 2014 rather. So salaries at the time were a little different. I think they're a little higher now, probably around 60, but that is exactly how I broke into tech sales, you guys, from literally selling shoes at Cole Haan, talking to my customers, hearing about someone that was in tech sales, doing the research, asking for help, taking the steps to proactively seek out information, and then just execute relentlessly. And I can't tell you guys enough, that was probably one of the happiest days of my life. I might just even break down right now. I called my mom, I cried. It was amazing because it saved my life. And I just want to let you guys know that no matter what you're doing right now, if you have the desire to change fields, if you have the desire to acquire more money, if you have the desire to transform your life in any kind of way, all you have to do is have faith that it can be done. You have to have the desire to truly do it and see it through. And then the hardest part of all, you've got to take massive action, okay? And if you do those 3 things, nothing can stop you. So with that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the story today. That is my personal story of how I went from working at the mall selling shoes to now, 9 years later, having a thriving career in tech sales, where I've been now for almost a decade. So hope you guys enjoyed the story. Hope you guys enjoyed the story for today. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. Also, if you're not doing so already, go follow me on LinkedIn, DM me with any questions you have about tech sales. I will give everybody a response, I promise. And then last but not least, if you are in the field or if you're looking to break into tech sales, go ahead and join us at the B2B Syndicate, see what we got cooking up over there. And with that, guys, I will see you in the next video. Take it easy now.